Entire Muslim world to destroy all other Qur'ans and only keep this one and only memorize this one. Okay? Now, what people will tell you is that this is an example, this is a proof that the Quran has been changed, the Quran has been altered, the Quran has been corrupted, and therefore the Quran challenge has failed. Because it does sound like that, doesn't it? Kind of, unless we think a little bit more and think about it, okay? So I just want you to think. The people around, now these people were around, lived with Prophet Muhammad, right? They were proper Arabs through and through. This was their language, this was their dialect. They lived and died for his sake. They gave up everything for his sake, okay? And we're only talking about a period of, say, about 20 years or so, maximum, okay? 15, 20 years. How is it possible that these people, the book was revealed onto them in their own language, in their own dialect, to a messenger that they knew, that they lived with, that they lived and died for, that they allowed and they fought and expanded the Muslim world for? How did they allow it to be corrupted so quickly within about 15 years? Whereas then Uthman, who is not a prophet, he is not a messenger of God, managed to produce a document that people who are, in the outer Muslim world, who were not Arabs, who didn't meet the Prophet, who are not that strong with Islam, and again, even us now, later generations, hundreds of years, thousands, right?
He couldn't do that without
that we've preserved that. It makes absolutely no sense. The only way it makes sense is if you consider what Uthman produced was the Quran, is the Quran, because it was still Quran, and it's still preserved as per what God's promise was, that the Quran will be preserved for all of humanity. It's just that for the sake of simplification, we just have the one dialect rather than dealing with all of the nomadic dialects that only existed because there was no unification. Does that make sense? So in actual fact, what he did was a preservation and a proof of the Quran, because it showed that even though he produced something, it's still transcendental to his lifetime, his dynasty, his tribal dynasty, they ruled afterwards, and then even everyone thereafter. There's still only one Quran to date, and that needs to have a plausible answer that you need to believe in your heart, that needs to resonate with you, for you to accept it as a miracle, as an ongoing miracle, or not. Because one of the questions you did ask, you did say something earlier to the point of, when things were revealed at the time, they were only revealed then to those people. Yes, I agree. We believe in Moses, for example, the miracles that he did, fire raining down from the sky, the river turning red, Jesus, raising the dead. The problem with those miracles are that, and here's the fun part, as great as those miracles are, there's two issues. Number one is that they were only good for the people at the time. You had to witness it to believe in it. Right? The people that came afterwards, you don't know that. You don't know that, right? Wait. Sorry?
This miracle in his name are happening in
wait. Okay. Right. Let me finish this. Let me finish. We'll have the conversation. Right. Okay. So those are right. Number two. Right. She can make a program. Right. My friend. I'll speak to you. My friend. I'll speak to you. In time. Right. Okay. The point. Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. So number one, they were only available for the people at. Right, my friend. Can I finish the conversation with you? Right. Okay.
Don't be critical of.
I'm not being critical of. Hey, listen. Jesus is my prophet too. Hey, listen. I'm not twisting anything. Listen. I follow Jesus. Hang on, my friend. I follow Jesus, and I would argue I follow him better. Right? Huh? Okay. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Anyway, point is, you had to see it at the time, right? Number one. Number two, makes sense?
He didn't say anything about the Bible.
Okay, I was trying to speak louder. Number one, you had to witness the miracle to accept it. Yeah, otherwise, if someone said to you, I saw a guy, he turned the river red, it's like, well, I wasn't there, how do I know? Number one. Number two is that as great as those miracles were, we can replicate them now today. Yeah, turning a river red, in Chicago on St. Patrick's Day, they turn the entire river green. Yeah. Raining fire down from the sky. I've seen a certain country doing that to another country. Hellfire rockets, missiles, fire rains, white phosphorus. It's fire from the sky because it'll literally burn you. What else? Resurrecting the dead, raising the dead. We've seen people die, shock them, bring them back to life. Curing blindness, cataract surgery. So you see, these things are replicable to a certain degree today. Of course.
What's your miracle?
Of course. Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, look, The Quran, what the Quran is talking about, it's just speech, it's just words, it's just a message. It should be something that we can replicate. It should be something that we can do something similar towards and confuse the people. Was this Quran, was it not, right? It seems to be the simplest one of all, yet is the one that has, number one, it's outlasting because you can experience the Quran now. You can experience that there's only one. And you only need to know that there is only one, and this is the basic history of it. You don't even need to read the Quran, just the simple fact that you know that the preservation of a message is beyond human ability. So that in that way you are experiencing an actual miracle. Because unless you can come up with a plausible explanation as to how human beings can do it, it's something beyond human capacity, therefore it's a miracle. And number two, it's just so simple, it's just words. And yet we've been not able to replicate it. And that is a sign of God's greater majesty, that He combined the miracle, the message, and made it something so simple yet impossible to replicate, to show to people who think, who reflect, which by the way is what the Quran called you to do, to think, to reflect on it, to show how great of a miracle it actually is, to be the final miracle for all of humanity. Does that make sense? So really now it comes down to you, that this was the characteristics that you described, that you defined, that you were happy with, and I've explained to you that the Quran matches those characteristics. I've explained to you how the history works, how it actually fulfills that. It really comes down to you now to explore for yourself, and unless you can come up with some kind of a solid reason in your heart, in your intellect, as to why it cannot be the truth, that is a very plausible and a stronger reason. It would seem honest for you to submit to that being the message of God. Now coming back to the question that you were asking the other brother, now what happens to me on the Day of Judgment? This is what will happen on the Day of Judgment. This is what God says. God will actually ask you, depending
on... Was this guy in Hyde Park at this day? And
no, I'll be there as well. This is not the last time we'll meet. I will be there. Right? Listen, huh? No, because we will meet on the Day of Judgment. And I will be either a witness
so we'll be in the waiting room together.
Yeah, if you want to call it. No. We'll be in front of the judgment together, because when this incident is raised, I will be there. And I will either be a witness for you that I was there and I explained to you and you accepted, either now or later. You went, you thought about it, you were sincere and you accepted, and I will be a witness for you, and God will accept you and He will give you the eternal reward. Or I will be the witness against you, to say I explained to you, you understood my explanation, you had nothing against it, you had every opportunity to ask me any questions, there was no doubts in your mind, you went away, but you then, for whatever reason, refused to take that further. That then becomes your problem, and for that you will be accountable, because God judges us for the choices that we make, and now the choice is entirely yours. Does that make sense? Okay. And as per what I'm saying, I am open any questions you have. It doesn't matter how, what your question is, but anything you have.
What if you aren't then when I die?
I will be there.
You will be there.
I will be
there.
What
if I die tomorrow?
That's fine.
No. There, here and there.
No. The Day of Judgment, right? Yeah. So when you die in this world, you'll die. I'm not going to be there at that point, unless you happen to die right now. Outside of coincidence, I'm not going to be there. Okay, right. On the day of resurrection, on the day of judgment itself, when it comes time for your judgment, God will bring me forth. And I will be there as a witness for you or against you. So I'll be there, because on that day, the entirety of humanity will be there. In God's court, everyone will be there. So don't worry about it. I will be there. And you will be there.
See you again.
Okay. But seriously, do you have any serious questions with regards to it? So I actually do want you to go away and think about this, and
I've already enough to think about now. Maybe now you've thrown one more question at me.
I'm hoping I'm throwing answers at you rather than questions.
Fair enough. Then you have push.
Okay. But just bear in mind, this was your criteria now that we've accepted, okay? This was not...
Maybe I should never have come to Hyde Park then.
Well, then, you could have maybe claimed ignorance, but now that you're here, now, you're kind of stuck in that position. But think about it. If you did submit and accept, you'll have the greatest reward for eternity. And on that day, you'll be happy. I'll tell you something now. Because I know you were talking to the guys earlier that what if you lived a good life and you lived happy and things like that. I'll guarantee you now, and all of the Muslims here will agree with me, that those of us here who are living good lives, when we see the people who are around the world who are suffering and really striving and holding on to their faith in God, the reward that God will give those people on that day, despite how harshly they lived in this world, I guarantee you every single one of us would wish that we had no happiness in this world, that we lived their life and had that hardship for the sake of the reward that they will earn. True? Yeah? Of course. I mean, we don't wish for hardship, but the point is God will reward as per the level of your test and your faith. You know, those people went through serious difficulties. You know, we had blessings, fine. Those people went through some serious trials. They'll get the serious reward. It's the people who go through the hardest tests get the best prizes, and that's what they're going to get. It would be a fallacy to believe that the way to measure everything is just in this world. This world is only, how long are you going to live? 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years maximum, thereabouts. Do you know the day of judgment? Just the waiting, right from when we're resurrected to the point where the judgment begins, according to Islamic theology, is 50,000 years. That means if you were to live around about, call it 80 years old, right, that you lived around about 63, 65 years, it means every single day of your life here, you would have 2 years to contemplate it on that final day. What did I do on this day? Why didn't I come closer to God? Why was I wasting time? Why was I doing this? Why didn't I do more? Yada, yada, yada. We'll have a long time to think about it before the judgment itself begins.
Can I ask you a question? After he's explained all of this, what are, in your thoughts, what are your objections or things that are preventing you to becoming a Muslim after the clear speech that my brother has given here? Is there anything that stands out to you in your heart that is pushing you back from accepting Islam?
Well,
I think it's just because she wants to verify. I mean, is there anything that you find, aside from wanting to verify what I'm saying?
I can't think of myself being religious.
Okay, fine. No, fine. So, what does that mean? How do you define being religious? Define that.
Well, if you take it seriously, then you have to live after what is told in the Quran, I guess. And you have to do things, and you have to. I would have to admit that I was wrong till now, and I can't think of any.
Fine.
You gave me plenty of reasons.
Okay.
I mean, but still, I can't ever think of that there is a God.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think I sin?
Sorry?
Do you think I sin?
I guess so. Everyone
I
does.
do. Good. Everybody is a sinner. Yeah. Everybody is a sinner. Even as Muslims, even the really, really practicing ones, we all sin. My desire for you is not for you to become the most perfect Muslim on day one.
I'm not.
No, I know you're saying you're not religious. My desire for you is literally only the smallest thing, is that you accept this message as being the verbatim message of God, therefore God exists and you have to submit to Him. That's the first step. You accept that there is a God, you accept that Prophet Muhammad, who came with the Quran, is the messenger of God, and at least start at that point, whether you pray or not. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pray, but I'm saying at least do the first step, and then maybe in time you will, your faith, or what we call iman, it will grow, and your perception might change. Because believe it, you can't decide now. Listen, when I was young, I didn't think of myself as religious now. Now, I can't think of myself as not praying. You will grow and mature as a person. Things change over time. Okay? You never know what may happen. So basically, never say never unless you're literally already setting yourself up to fall. If you're already saying, no, I'm never going to do it, because remember what I said in the beginning, intellectually you'll be satisfied, but you'll have an emotional rejection. This is now your emotional rejection. You have
I'm
no...
sure we'll also find the intellectual.
Well, okay, fine. But right now you're doing exactly what I said you would do, which is to find an emotional rejection. And all I'm saying to you is, listen, just deal with the intellectual part, that you have to succumb, that there is a God, there is a creator, that He sent this message, and believe in the message. Just believe in that much. If you don't want to do anything, if you want to carry on your lifestyle, fine. Carry on. Be a sinful Muslim, be a sinful believer in God, but at least be a believer in God first. and we'll let the rest come later. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, it's not. We'll see. This is upon you. This is upon you, because I don't want this whole discussion to be for the sake of discussion because it was a fun time. I actually want this to be a meaningful discussion for you, because I've spent a lot of time, explaining things to you very particularly, and I want you to go. I'm not going to chase you up, and at the end of the day, look, if you become Muslim or not, it's not going to benefit me, right? I only want this for your sake, because at the end of the day, it's human nature that anything good that a person has, we want it for everyone else, and I want goodness for you. You've spent the time, you've listened, you've considered, you haven't been argumentative unnecessarily, you've really thought about it. And who knows? I don't know. Maybe at some point you will ask God, or you wanting guidance. This is your opportunity. This is a message coming to you. It may not be in the format that you expected, but this is, you've had a message delivered to you now, and now you are in a position where you're essentially accountable to God for failing to act on it if you fail to act on it. If you find some kind of here's the point. If you find an issue against what I have said, find a knowledgeable Muslim and ask them. Ask them, but don't let this just be an emotional reaction, an emotional rejection, because if that's all you have, then on the day of judgment, you can't blame God for that. That was your own doing. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? Literally anything at all.
I think I'm going to go for my brother and my father there.
Just on the topic of not being religious, not all of us were born Muslim. When your heart submits, your limbs will follow. So right now you don't have any faith, so you can't see yourself praying 5 times a day. But if your heart submits to the fact that Allah is the creator and He expects you to do that, then your limbs will follow if your heart is in the right place.
So what do you mean? The heart is here, no? Where is it? It's in the right place, no?
No problem. Thank you very much.
What do you mean in the right place? Is my heart in the right place?